I was near the ocean recently, just kind of standing, hanging out, watching, appreciating, just the waves and the birds and the, environment, everything. It was awesome. And I was reminded of something I had read a long time ago. This author was trying to make the case that salt water could cure everything. And obviously that's a little bit of like clickbait right off the bat when somebody says something like that. But they were trying to argue that whether it's sweat, whether it's tears, or it's the ocean, all of those things can kind of bring you to a place where everything begins to make a little bit more sense. As a man of God, I know that there's a lot more to the story than just sweat, tears, and the ocean. But I do think that it's interesting to kind of like sit back and reflect on that for a moment. That, in a lot of ways, the Bible talks about what it means to just put in hard work. I mean, the United States of America can attribute a lot of its success and a lot of its prosperity to what was called the Protestant work ethic. The fact that you would just save as much as possible, work as diligently as possible, and believe that God would take care of you. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that was a huge push in the founding of our nation. Or even to think that there are times where a good cry helps out. Now, I'm not much of a crier myself, but the idea of feeling deep and personal emotions is extremely important, especially when it comes to emotional maturity. A lot of times when we're given to real immediate bursts of emotional outbursts or things like that, it's because we haven't let the deep work of the emotional toil sometimes that comes with having a genuine Christian perspective about our life do its work in us. But let me read this to you. In James 5, 1, 2-8, it says, "Count it all joy, my brethren, when you fall into various trials and tribulations, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." It goes on to say in verse 4, "But let patience have its perfect work in you, a complete, full work in you, that you may be lacking nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man," it says, "suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord, because he's a double-minded man and unstable in all of his ways." In observing the ocean or a sea or a huge body of water, you can see and just kind of watch how the water does what it wants. And it'll push this way and it'll push that way, and there'll be currents and there'll be tides, and there's all kinds of tumult happening. And in James it says that there are times in our lives where we can feel just like driven and tossed by these waves and these things. But I think to kind of come back to this idea of what it means to work hard, to appreciate the deep emotions that God can give us, but also to kind of look at the ocean as this thing that we can learn from, is that there's something powerful about being able to step back and look at something so grand and so massive. Like they say that 2/3 of the earth is covered in water. It's just bizarre to even try to comprehend. But to see how that's a reflection of the God who loves us. It's a reflection of his grandeur. It's a reflection of his all-encompassing, overwhelming love for us. And so I couldn't help but, experience in that moment kind of next to the ocean, like has happened to me several times, to just be able to step back and look at the big picture. Yeah, things are tough sometimes. And if you're lucky, you are trusted enough by God to go through situations that don't make any sense and that you're not quite sure how to make heads or tails of. And if you'll slow down for a minute, put some hard work in, let yourself feel the deep emotions that God has given you as a human, and then also just appreciate how absolutely immeasurable he is, maybe you'll walk out on it the other side with a deeper appreciation of who God is. Maybe you'll walk out on it on the other side wiser, more patient, stronger, more gentle, less judgmental maybe. And then you can see what it means, when James here says, "My brethren, count it all joy." Well, why count it all joy? Because we have been given an opportunity to be part of such an amazing plan in the things of God. My prayer for you today, my hope for you today, is that you would take stock for a moment. Be grateful. Put some hard work in. Feel the deep things that God is asking you to feel so that you can really abide in his presence. And remember that this walk that he's given us is a privilege. And I'm so thankful to be walking it with you. Be blessed. God bless you guys. Till next time.